Have you ever looked at a picture of a huge mountain range or a deep canyon and wondered how it got there? Our planet is an incredibly active place, always changing, even if we can't see it happening. These big changes are driven by powerful natural forces. Think of them like the builders and sculptors of the Earth. Earth's forces are the natural processes that cause motion and change. We can group them into two main categories. First, we have internal forces, which come from inside the Earth. Second, we have external forces, which come from outside the Earth, mostly from the sun's energy and gravity. Both of these force systems work together to create the landscapes we see today. Let's dive into the internal forces. The most powerful of these is plate tectonics. Imagine the Earth's outer shell. Its crust is like a giant cracked eggshell. These pieces are called tectonic plates. They're not stuck in place. They're constantly moving, floating on a layer of hot, molten rock deep inside the Earth. It's a very slow motion, only a few centimeters a year, but over millions of years. That motion adds up to big changes. Tectonic plates interact in three main ways. They can collide with each other, they can pull apart, or they can slide past each other. Each of these interactions creates a different landform or event on the surface. For example, where plates are pulling apart, you often find new crust being formed, like at the mid-ocean ridge. One of the most dramatic results of plate tectonics is the creation of mountains. When two plates are pushing together and collide, their edges crumple and fold, just like a car's hood in a head-on collision. This upward folding creates huge mountain ranges, such as the Himalayas, which are still growing today as the plates continue to push against each other. Volcanoes are another direct result of internal forces. They can form in a few ways, but often it's where plates are either pulling apart or pushing together. This movement can create cracks in the Earth's crust, allowing hot, molten rock called magma to rise to the surface. When it erupts, it forms a volcano, bringing material from deep inside the Earth to the surface. And what about earthquakes? They're also caused by plate tectonics. When two plates are sliding past each other, they don't move smoothly. They get stuck, and pressure builds up. Eventually, the pressure becomes too much, and the plates suddenly slip. This sudden release of energy sends shock waves through the ground, which we feel as an earthquake. So, to summarize, internal forces are all about the powerful heat and motion deep within the Earth. They are the builders and creators of our planet, responsible for forming massive landforms and causing major geological events like volcanoes and earthquakes. They work slowly, but with immense power. Now, let's look at the external forces. These forces work on the Earth's surface and are powered by the sun's energy and gravity. While internal forces build up land, external forces do the opposite. They break it down and carry it away. These processes are called weathering and erosion. Weathering is the process of breaking down rocks and soil. It can happen in a few ways. For example, water can get into cracks in a rock and freeze. When it freezes, it expands, pushing the rock apart. Wind can also carry small bits of sand that scrape against a rock, slowly wearing it down. Weathering just breaks the rock into smaller pieces. Once the rock is broken down, erosion takes over. Erosion is the process of moving those weathered pieces from one place to another. This is often done by water, wind, or glaciers. The most dramatic example is a river, which carries tiny pieces of sediment downstream, slowly carving out a path and a new landscape. The water cycle is a great example of an external force in action. The sun's energy evaporates water, creating clouds. Gravity then pulls the water back down as rain. That rain, in turn, gathers into rivers that flow downhill, and as they flow, they use the force of the water to erode the land, carving out canyons and valleys, and carrying sediment all the way to the ocean. Another powerful external force is a glacier. Glaciers are massive sheets of ice that are so heavy that gravity slowly pulls them downhill. As they move, they act like giant bulldozers, scraping away rock and soil from the land beneath them. This process can carve out huge U-shaped valleys and deposit rock far from its origin. Now that we know about these forces, we can start to construct explanations for how different landforms were created. To do this, we act like detectives. We look for evidence, the clues left behind on the landscape, and use what we know about Earth's forces to put the story together. Let's use the Grand Canyon as our first case study. What's our evidence? First, we see a massive, deep canyon. Second, it has layered rocks exposed on its walls. And third, there is a large river, the Colorado River, flowing at its very bottom. With that evidence, we can build an explanation. The external force of water, specifically the Colorado River, has been eroding the rock for millions of years. The force of gravity pulls the water downhill, giving it the power to cut through the layers of rock. This process of weathering and erosion, happening over a very long time, is how the Grand Canyon was formed. Now let's try a different one. Mount Everest. Our evidence here is that it's the tallest mountain on Earth, and it's still growing. But here's a surprising clue. Geologists have found fossils of marine animals in the rocks near its peak. Fossils of ocean animals on top of the world's tallest mountain. Our explanation for Mount Everest must involve an internal force. The evidence points to the incredible power of plate tectonics. The Indian and Eurasian tectonic plates have been slowly pushing into each other for millions of years. This collision has crumpled the crust, pushing it up to form the Himalayas. The marine fossils are the final piece of the puzzle. They show that the rocks at the top of the mountain were once at the bottom of an ancient ocean. It's important to remember that these forces don't work in isolation. They are constantly interacting. For example, internal forces can build up a huge mountain, but as soon as it's formed, external forces start to work, slowly wearing it down with wind and rain. It's a constant, powerful cycle of creation and destruction that shapes our planet. To sum it all up, Earth's surface is constantly being shaped by two main forces. Internal forces, driven by heat and plate tectonics, build up landforms like mountains and volcanoes. External forces, powered by the sun and gravity, break down and carry away those landforms through weathering and erosion. By gathering and interpreting evidence, we can explain how these powerful processes have created the amazing world we live in.